With this introduction, I request you to please take charge of this session.
Thank you, Mr. Ravindra Dudeja, for giving me this opportunity to talk to you. Good morning to all of you. And at the outset, I congratulate you for coming into this wonderful profession, the adjudication process, adjudicating profession. In my view, dispensation of justice is a divine job, sovereign job anyway, but it is more than that, it is a divine job, and you have a pious obligation of understanding the case and understanding the people before you and understanding the information that flows into you, and then decide what is correct. Very, very difficult process, very, very challenging process, but yet very, very interesting process. So I congratulate you for coming into this activity, the state activity, sovereign activity, divine activity. And coming to our topic, very dynamic topic was chosen for me, the interplay and interface between the information around you and the duty that you are supposed to perform. It's a very, very complex, conflicting process, a challenging process again. Now, if you look at the various systems and various rights and authorities that different systems have, different channels of administration have to perform, you will find a major conflict or interface between several different kinds of duties being performed by different authorities. And you will have one wonderful estate, which is media, which is called fourth estate, other than judiciary, executive and legislature. You have fourth estate, which is not under the regulatory control of any authority. You may think that there is a possibility of regulation, there are laws, there are limitations, there are reasonable limitations, fine. But the activity as such is difficult to be controlled and difficult to be regulated. Their autonomy, their freedom, and their self-decision making process, and their enthusiasm to get into various other aspects of the society are really beyond reach of anybody's control. That is, in fact, is the autonomy, that is, in fact, the meaning of independence. In courtroom, you are the independent authority. As Mr. Dudeja has rightly pointed out, you are the leader of your house, you are leader of your court, you are the person who interpret, you are the person who use the discretionary power. When law is damn clear and when there are thousands of cases to explain the provisions of law, and everybody knows killing A, killing B will amount to murder, and a punishment is also prescribed. Yet, we need a person who looks at it constantly, understands it deeply, and then delivers a conclusion which is adjudged as justified. See, you are judging, I understand. You are the real judges. But do you know who judge you? The people judge you. Circumstances will judge you. The entire world, whole world judges you. Sometimes I feel, except judge, everybody will be judging in this country, in this society, in this world, except judge. Judge is expected to decide only in some cases, whereas people around you judge every minute, every second, every hour, every day. In every aspect they judge you. Your dress will be judged, your address will be judged, your activity will be judged, your going to cinema will be judged, your Facebook will be judged. Everybody tries to judge you. Your mother, your father, friend, wife, children, husband, everybody judges you. You have a little statutory opportunity as part of your legitimate duty to judge. This is a very interesting phenomenon. Then when you sit over in a courtroom, as it is rightly pointed out, you are the leader. Everybody looks at you. Even if it is a constitutional provision, you should explain. Even if it is a piece of evidence that you have to appreciate. Even if somebody makes a request to postpone it, you have to decide. CRPC says something, court judgment says something, law commission recommendations are there around you, but yet you have to decide. So who is the leader? You are the leader. Judge is the leader. In a classroom, teacher is the leader. In a home, mother is the leader. So you have several leaders set apart at different parts of activities. Prime Minister is the leader of the cabinet. Speaker is the leader of the Lok Sabha. So you have leaders, and leaders have to lead the rest of the people into a proper conclusion. So that is the powerful responsibility of a judicial officer also. An individual is also a leader. A journalist is a leader. In my view, an editor is a leader. Do you know what editorial writer is called? He is called a leader writer. What is leader in newspaper? Editorial is the leader. That means what? Editor is expected to understand the day's operations, happenings, and then expected to choose a subject and talk about it so that he becomes an opinion leader. He becomes an opinion leader. You know, in communication philosophy and communication theory, though we have resources to secure information on our own, though we can read and formulate opinions on our own, we look to a wise person, we look to an educated person, we look to an experienced person and listens to his opinion, and that is the leading opinion. As you have leading witnesses, that way leading witness, what happens there? You will lead him to give such an answer which is oriented to suit the advocate's case. Similarly, a journalist, an editor, gives a leading opinion in the column called editorial, which is technically called as leader, and he becomes a leader writer. We look to opinion. In a village, a teacher is an opinion leader. He will read newspaper in the village, and sitting near the panchayat office. And somebody asks what is happening, and he will give his own interpretation. So a leader interprets things. A leader takes initiative. Leader leads others into an opinion. That is the job of a leader. Now, as a student of law and teacher of law, always one question rattles me: who makes law? Who makes law? Is it legislature? It is impossible. 545 members. Do you think they can make law? Unless a bill is put before them, and if they have time and Lok Sabha is peaceful, then they may look into. If they have read it at the home, and I am damn sure there are bundles of reports given to each member of the parliament. I am not sure. I cannot say I am damn sure. I am not sure whether anybody reads it. And I find those bundles as it is, without even being unbundled, in the houses of the MPs. I have seen several times. In fact, I used to go to one of my friend's house and collect some reports which I am interested in. I used to search for them and take. So it is difficult to imagine that 545 members sit out and make law. Then who makes law? Some departments, some personality who is experienced in drafting a legislation based on the policy decided by the cabinet, they will do. And what is the job of the legislator in fact in legislature? They have to study, approve or disapprove, that's all. Now, after a policy is codified, unless it is under challenge and is before a court of law, every law is before a court of law. For example, criminal law. Somebody committed some crime and he will come to you and you have to interpret the provision. You may not decide the constitutionality of a provision, but you are asked to interpret the meaning and apply that to the case before you. That means what? Every piece of legislation ultimately comes before the court of law for its proper understanding. Then the understanding you projected, understanding you had, based on several things, including the information that comes from different sources that influences, possible influence, taking into account the possibility of influence, you will come to a conclusion. Then who is giving law? Can I say that it is some bureaucrat who drafted it? Or can I say somebody who corrected it? Or can I say somebody who passed it? Or can I say somebody who brought it before you? Or is that you have decided the law? In my view, you have decided the law. Quran is a wonderful, divine, dynamic book. But who has to give the meaning of the expressions in Quran? Some interpreter, some prophet. Similarly, Bhagavad Gita. Somebody has to explain you that this is what Krishna intended to explain. So those who interpret are the real givers of law. I can give you quotations from Supreme Court and American judges' statements to establish this, but we don't have time, we have only 1 hour before us. So I am giving you the essence of what I read. So, who gives law? Interpreter gives law. If court says this is what I understood as law, that is law. So, I decide law. I am a legislator. I pass a legislation, but I don't decide what the law is. Court decides what the law is. So that's why they are called courts of law. The courts of law. When you decide ultimately applying it to a factual situation, you will become a court of justice. Until you become court of justice, you are a court of evidence. That means you are collecting the information, listening to one interpretation, listening to another orientation. Advocacy means what? Conglomeration of, or I can say collating the evidences, then articulating the evidences and putting it in my own way to protect my interest. I am interested in protecting my client, and he is interested in protecting his interest. Adversarial litigation, you don't have a role, inquisitorial role. Sometimes, of course, where the law permits you, you may get into and probe into, but otherwise, basically, you are not. In an adversarial situation, wait for the emergence of truth out of conflicting arguments. This is what you are supposed to wait, and you do that. We do that. I also do that. I read that newspaper, this newspaper, that interpretation, this interpretation, debate, that debate, this debate. What the Constituent Assembly debated about the expression of a particular provision of the Constitution, and I'll come to a conclusion. So I am also judging. I am also trying to tell something. So a leader is intellectual leader. A judge is an intellectual leader. A judge is a leader who assimilates the information into knowledge. The knowledge is a processed product of information. And you assimilate that knowledge and then put it in a particular case, illustration before you, and you are a wise man. Now your product produced a wisdom. You are applying wisdom. You are using your discretion and creating a wise conclusion. And a wise conclusion is a reasonable conclusion, justifiable conclusion, acceptable conclusion. Justice is delivered. Justice is delivered. A process of information joining with the process of lawmaking joins another process of assimilation of that information into different forms of knowledge, wisdom, and etc. Application of mind. People generally use application of mind. What does it mean? Don't we apply mind? We apply mind. But it is serious statutory official requirement of application of mind. It is very difficult, I tell you. I was totally convinced when I became Information Commissioner that a judge will not find enough time. I know, I understand the delays in dispensation of justice. I totally understand it. But I tell you, you will not find enough time to consult your books, consult your gurus, consult your teachers to come to a conclusion. You are in a hurry. You are in a hurry every day, every minute. And unless you decide that moment, you will not get into next moment. For example, unless you decide adjournment petition, you can't get into next case. If you reject, what will happen to the petition and the lawyers who are before you? I don't know. It's a dynamic process. So every minute you have to take a decision using your wisdom, and that decision should be proper, correct, unchallengeable. How difficult it is. And that's where you are the leader of the court. You are the leader of the house. You are the leader of classroom. You are the leader when you are interviewing, giving an interview to get selected as a judge. You are the leader, not the questioners. You are the leaders. You decide your future. So I conclude this part of the topic saying that a leader in a courtroom is an intellectual leader. His integrity will make him more efficient. His fearlessness makes him more justifiable personality. His courage, you are intelligent. You know everything. You know what is to be concluded. but you don't have courage, enough courage, what will happen? What will happen? Because of the fear, because of favor, or because of some influence, because of somebody's threat or possibility of being knocked down while walking in the morning. Knocked down, what more anybody can tell? The fear possibility. A judge, Uttam Anand, when he was knocked down, what could have been the possibility of a judge, courageous judge? What will happen to us? Absolutely a fearsome situation, absolutely. I have no dispute about it. I don't have two opinions about it. Very, very scary situation. But who is not facing the risk in this country? A protester also is facing the risk. Nobody knows from back a car might come, or from front some bullet might come, or from somebody, somewhere something might happen. So risk is common. Risk is invisible, but risk is real. So, should we fear and conclude? Should we favorably conclude? What should we do? This is the real intellectual leadership. Your samskara, I say samskara. The culture we have in our family, in our vamsha bolte hai na, ab kya bolte hai aap? The line of family. The integrity that was taught by your grandfather, your father, the story taught by your mother, grandmother, and the way you are brought up in your wonderful house, that will make you a leader. Education, of course, I am not denouncing it. Education articulates your ideas. Education tells you what is to be done, but you will learn about what is happening around. In Nalsar University, after teaching 5 years, after learning 5 years in my university, one student joined the practicing activity, and then for some work he was coming to university. My university is far away from the city. Somebody has to take a bus that is meant for faculty to come travel from city to the university. Then he also joined. The student joined, and we are all lecturers around sitting in the bus. Then I asked him, how is practice, Mr. So-and-so? He says, sir, what is this, sir? What you have said is different, and what is happening is totally different. And this is the information, this is the conclusion everybody has. Am I right? Then I asked him, okay, my dear student, you found it is totally different. Yeah, sir, yeah, totally different, sir. What you teach in the classroom doesn't happen in the courtroom. Fine. Then, how do you know that what was happening in the courtroom is different? May I know that? There is no answer to that question. Answer is, because you know something in the classroom, you know now that in courtroom something else is happening. So I am giving you basics. I am giving you have the knowledge of basics. That's why you know now that what is in the books and what is the law and what is happening in the courts or in the society. Why only courts? In the society is totally different. It looks totally different. Then what is our job? Being educated. You have to bring in that original essence and original aim, objectives, target, motive of the law, rule of law. That is your duty. That's all. That's where you are made. That's where you are in making and becoming of a leader. You are the leader. And you will definitely lead if you understand this difference. And I am happy that you started understanding the difference between classroom and courtroom. All the best. You are doing very well. So that is what I would like to say. Your education doesn't go waste. Your integrity strengthens you and gives you courage. And your wisdom that is cultured, that is articulated based on your experience and education, it will help you to make a leader. You are the leader. You will be the leading. So this is what I'd like to say about leadership. And coming to the next very, very conflicting part of our talk today, that is whether courts are being influenced by media. Now, this is a very big question. First, we have to understand what is media. Why we are talking about media. Who is media? Media doesn't mean newspapers alone. Media doesn't mean television alone. Media doesn't mean what you hear in radio. Everything that brings a message to you is a media. Everything My definition to media is this: every channel that brings information to you is a media. When you are dining in your official residence, cook tells something, that is media. You read a book, whatever is the book, and some point it attracts you, and you're getting attached to it. That is media. You watch a movie with your wife, kids, and movie is nothing but social happenings around you. Whatever way they are presenting, that's a different thing. You are influenced, surely influenced. I am damn sure that you will be influenced. You are a human being, like me, like anybody else. A human being is expected to be influenced by the circumstances, the information that pours into your brain from different quarters. Now, Veda also says, I'll open my mind to information from all corners, Ano Bhadra, that Upanishad sentence. So I open up my mind to all information that comes to me, and then I'll take a decision. I'll consider each of it. I'll not reject it at the threshold, but I take it. Have you heard of Edward de Bono? Edward de Bono, the wonderful writer. Edward de Bono says, thinking is the source of decision making. Thinking is the source. We think. And he wrote about thinking. I don't know whether we have any time thought about thinking. We think. I'm not saying that we don't think. But have you ever thought about thinking? Have you ever wrote about thinking? And do you know Edward de Bono wrote 40 books about thinking, 40. I request you to read them, at least one or two of them. One book I suggest is Intelligence is Not Enough. The title of the book, Intelligence is Not Enough. What a fantastic title it is. Intelligence is not enough. And we are so proud that we are intelligent. We are happy that we are intelligent. And he says it is not enough. So he gives you factors. If you want to become a leader, please read this book. 60 minutes enough to read this book. Around 140 pages. Small book, beautifully printed with a broad size font. Easy to read. If you are waiting somewhere for bus or train, or you are sitting in a bus, purchase it and read it. One reading will do. It will shape your thinking process. How to take an information that comes into your mind, either through medium, either through your servant or some friend telephones to you, very close friend, बचपन का लंगोटी यार है वो कुछ बताते हैं आपको, आप इन्फ्लुएंस नहीं होते क्या? You will definitely get influenced. Your mother tells something, no, what you are hearing is not correct, beta, मैं तो ऐसा सुना, चलो हो गया ना, और एक influence. Then you come with the newspapers. In fact, the newspaper is an organized presentation of an information. It is an organized presentation. But information that comes to you through other channels is not organized. I'm not saying truthful or not truthful. I'm not saying anything about the veracity of the information that reaches you, but there are sources from different corners comes to you. Now, why are we entertaining this information? Why should we? Constitution of India says freedom of speech and expression, 19(1)(a). Marketplace of ideas. Do you know what is the expression used? Society is marketplace of ideas. That means any information can come in. Any information. No holds barred. Any information will come to you. Now I'd like to ask you whether there is any duty cast upon any person to tell truth only, truth alone, nothing else. Don't remember the witness taking oath before you. That's a different thing. I am generally asking under freedom of speech and expression. I am asking you generally, is there any duty to tell truth? And whether freedom of speech and expression means you should tell only truth, and you don't have a freedom to tell an untruthful statement. Is there any such rule? In my view, there is no such rule. Poetry is bundle of lies. Story is a bundle of lies. Cinema is nothing but a big lie. So, are we not entertaining all this information coming out? In my view, in my understanding, until you have a statutory responsibility or moral obligation to tell truth, you are free to tell lie. This is the link. This is the extent. Lie means what? How do I conclude a particular point is truth? Can I say it goes to Supreme Court and Supreme Court gives a wonderful conclusion and that is truth? Until then, should I not say anything about it? Because I don't know whether it is truthful statement or not. And if you insist that people should say only truth, I tell you, no information will come out. Nothing will happen around the country. Not only in this yuga, in any era, it will not happen. So free press means marketplace of ideas. Present all the views to the people, let the people take a right conclusion, right information. That's all. So this is the idea behind guaranteeing freedom of speech and expression. And it continues, it extends to courtroom also. You know, an advocate is free. An advocate is free to say his view about the case. An advocate is free to articulate all the evidences that are around to present his case. He presents his case, remember. He presents his case. And judges say generally that we are looking for being educated by lawyers. True, lawyers do educate you. But lawyers educate you with self-interest. I mean, I'm not denouncing them. Their interest is attached to a particular side, a particular client, a particular cause. Both of them. Then you are a disinterested personality judging. That is your eligibility. That is your qualification. That is your merit. You don't belong to either of the sides. You are objective. You are open-minded. Leadership qualities. You are open-minded. You are starting on a clean slate every day. And you don't conclude because somebody said something. You listen to reason. You look to evidence. You look to proper appreciation of evidence. So these are your attributes, leadership attributes. So marketplace of idea, I am entering the marketplace, I am an ordinary man. I have so many informations around me. I will decide the way I want to. A father having son doing intermediate is in a dilemma. Where to send? Boy also is in dilemma. Where to send? Which college? Which course first of all, and then which college next? Apart from economic and other activities, he has to decide where to send. That is the decision he is making for his son. The decision, not a small one. It turns his life. It's a life-turning decision. The decision you are going to give in a murder case is as important as the decision of a father about his son in the stage of intermediate. He's a judge there. What should he do? He gets into open marketplace of ideas, listens to all, consults many, and decides one. Even the marriage, perhaps, I can attribute the same thing to marriage also. You look to people, have your own choices, and fix upon a person before you propose. So a decision maker, everybody is a decision maker. And every decision depends on information that comes from different places, and you ultimately conclude based on your experience, your past, your perceptions, your understanding, your culture, your samskara, your father, your family, your grandmother, everything. Invisibly they influence you. Invisible influence of these factors you can't rule out. Now that is the reason for the free press. Milton's Areopagitica, please read Milton, John Milton's Areopagitica. You will understand the information, value of the information. J.S. Mill writes a letter to parliamentarians of Britain. He writes a letter. when they are imposing restrictions on freedom of speech and expression, he writes a letter, a very popular letter. You go to Google, not now, afterwards, go to Google and find out the letter written by J.S. Mill, John Stuart Mill, a fantastic understanding of possibility of any information being flown in a situation, in any situation, and why that should be allowed. Why that should be allowed. Very interesting, my dear friends, please see. Then you will not look at the information that is flowing to you with prejudice. Don't have any prejudice. There is possibility of wrongful information coming to you. Remember that also. Be conscious about that possibility. Put it in the back of your mind. I am testing this. I am not going to believe on the face of it. On the face of it, don't believe anything. Don't believe anybody. Don't believe anybody. Anybody includes everybody. Don't believe anybody. Don't take any information on the face of it. Take it with a pinch of salt. Doubt. Doubt it. Inquire. It is your constitutional fundamental duty, having scientific inquiry, spirit of inquiry and reasoning, your duty. And being a judge, you are more into it. You cannot accept anything. There is umpteen number of possibilities to make a witness give a wrong witness. Umpteen number of possibilities. Remember this forever. And that is the reason you have to give a grilling cross-examination to churn out the truth out of your questioning. Questioning brings out the truth. Questioning. And without questioning, there is no judge. There is no court. There is no leader. There is no person at all. There is no person at all without questioning. Everything you have to question. You have to doubt everything. People may think that you are a pessimist. Don't become a pessimist. Be optimistic. What is that? Do very, very positive. Be very, very optimum possibility of positivity. But keep on questioning. Keep on questioning. That is the only way you can give a better justice as a leader, as a judge, and to remove the influences. So that is the possibility of the importance of free press. You should allow that. And secrecy. If you don't ask, if you are an introvert and somebody doesn't speak to you, I think difficult to survive. It is not part of man being social animal. No. You must disclose, you must debate, you must discuss with your friends. You must have a free and frank debate with the people around. If not, secrecy degenerates. I think you know that. In the darkness of secrecy, sinister interest and evil in every shape are in full swing. Secrecy is such an atmosphere that it will provoke you to commit wrongs. This is the terrible secret of the secrecy. It will spoil people. So publicity is the soul of justice. I'm sorry if I'm making an exaggerated statement, but it is not my statement. It is Jeremy Bentham's statement. He talks, and do you know what he says? Where there is no publicity, there is no justice. Publicity is the very soul of justice. Please make a note of this. It's a very great, wise statement. Where there is no publicity, there is no justice. Don't be scared of publicity. Publicity is the very soul of justice. In a right to information workshop, a person explained that I am being threatened with possibility of murder. If I ask so-and-so information, I may be killed. 100 people around were killed so far in the last 16 years for asking for information in this country. Can you believe it? 100 people died, killed for asking information. He didn't do with any information. Nothing was done based on that information. He sought information, that's all, and he was killed. सोच सकते हैं क्या आप इस दुनिया में क्या होता है आजकल? Seeking information is risky, and what will happen giving judgment? This is the problem, and this is where the leadership counts. This is where your duty counts. So, do you know what he said? Somebody said, I'll definitely ask information. Even though it is risky, it will take away my life. I'm going to ask information. And he says, I'm announcing it in the meeting. I'm going to file the RTA application tomorrow. Then everybody was astonished, asked him, what is your courage, yaar? Kahan se bol rahe ho aap? Kaise bol rahe ho aap? They didn't know what he said. Publicity is my security. Publicity is my security. Because anything happens to me, now people know that it is done by X. Then, but because of that, he will not do anything. 60% correct. I don't say 100% correct. Not in all situations. So publicity is justice, publicity is security, and that is the reason why the courts conduct open hearings. Why administration of justice is open before parliament is open, before cabinet is yet to be opened. It never opens. Cabinet is, you can't see the live telecasting of cabinet meeting. You will not see. Unless they hold a press conference and explain the decisions, we will not know anything about the cabinet. And we do not know anything about debate, if at all it happened in the cabinet or not. We don't know. Secrecy shrouds around the cabinet. Whereas parliament is open. But before the parliament is open, courts are open since hundreds of years. The openness of administration of justice is the trait of judiciary, character of judiciary. And openness brings in accountability. Judge is accountable. Not because somebody says that judge is accountable. Judge is accountable because of openness of the trial. I am accountable. Everybody is watching me. How do I behave? I behave differently in a drawing room and I behave differently in bathroom. Secrecy makes the difference. Openness makes the difference. Openness brings in accountability. Openness is the source of freedom of speech and expression. Openness is the duty, responsibility, reasonability, and the attribute of administration of justice. You tell me, sir, by which information you are getting influenced? After studying these basic subjects, you have to understand, are you being influenced by the media? Are you not being influenced by the media? This is the question. First of all, accept openness of the judiciary. Second, you accept freedom of speech and expression, marketplace of ideas. Third, you agree that there is possibility of influencing information coming from different quarters of society. Then look at your advocates. What do they say before you? What do they say? One fellow says X is criminal, he should be hanged. The other man says X is not criminal. He is a very pious, innocent, great gentleman. He should be acquitted. Baijjat, kya bolte hain? But you have to release him without any the patch of blame. You have to release him. Two contradictory opinions are before you. You are a judge. Which one you accept? Can I say that no, you are getting influenced by that lawyer, this lawyer? Can I say that? Am I right when I say that? Then how can you say that some media propagated that X is criminal and I am influenced by it? How can you say that? This is my question to you. I am not saying that media is not influencing you. It is influencing you. But whether media does more job than an adversarial advocate before you, can he do? That is one thing. Then second point I'd like to tell you. What you are seeing in the media, you have to look to the source of it. What is the source of it? Who tells that? You might have seen the reports today or yesterday or day before that so-and-so was being interrogated, and in the interrogation he said so-and-so. That is the banner news item in the first page. Do you think journalist has a wonderful divine capacity of entering into interrogation room on his own in a, like Mr. India, invisible Mr. India, goes into and finds out the information? Do you believe it? I am not supporting media. I am only telling you the possibility. I am a high critic of media. I am supporter of freedom of speech and expression, not the media. I criticize media. But I am asking you, where from a journalist gets information about interrogated details? Where from? Then do you say that it is media trial? I say it is trial by police through media. I'll say trial through media by police. Am I not correct? No, they hold a press conference. They sit in uniform in the front bench, and all the arrested persons stand in the backside. They stand and they address a press conference. You will find the news photograph next day and live telecast. All those arrested persons will be smiling, and I don't know why they smile. Very interesting. And all the police officers are very serious, very serious, and they present case. Those are claimed by police to be accused in a criminal case. Now you tell me, sir, what happens to your principles of identification, criminal procedure code, objective identification of a accused by a witness? What will happen to all of them? You tell me who is trying whom. And an accused in a sensational case is produced before you. Yeah, I have killed him. I wanted to teach a lesson to that fellow. I killed him. Confession. Confession where, madam? Confession to media. In presence of police. What will happen to your principles of Evidence Act 25, 26, 27? What will happen? Your Article 20, Sub-Article 1, self-incrimination. What will happen? Your principle that you cannot accept any confession given to police. What will happen? And what is the impression given by the police to the people? They say the crime happened and within 1 week I have arrested. I have produced them before the court of people. Now they have very at leisure, they'll come to you, you will be produced before you, and your defense lawyer raises all the questions that are available in the form of rights of an accused. You ultimately conclude that there is no sufficient evidence and he is released, acquitted. What is the impression that you will gain in the public? What is the trust? What is the confidence? And who is destroying it? Is it media or the responsible constitutional statutory office holders? Who are destroying this? Whose press conference it is? Whose report it is? Even if it is not a press conference, somebody writes a story, table story on a crime that happened, who is ultimately acquitted in the court of law. Tell me, who is blamed? Who is to be blamed? Who gave the information to him? The media is running on leaked informations, and most of the informations are leaked from authorities. Authorities, please underline, authorities. Arushi case, do you remember Arushi case? Media is accused, abused, but how the media went on reporting? Based on the regular press conferences, I'm not saying that press conferences by police to media is not correct. I'm not saying that. But what is to be said? Remember Rajiv Gandhi assassination case? Do you remember? You read, I'll suggest another book. You please read First Human Bomb. The book First Human Bomb. Written by a forensic expert, not Karthikeyan. 2 books are written on Rajiv Gandhi assassination. One is by Karthikeyan. The other is by Chandrasekhar Pillai. Chandrasekhar Pillai is a forensic expert. And he tells you how media conferences helped in criminal investigation. He tells how it helped. I am not opposing press conferences. But what is that you have to tell in the press conferences? Which information is being leaked? I tell you, press conference is not a news conference. It is an advertisement conference. What is the difference, madam? In a press conference, a journalist asks a question and gets the information. In advertisement conference, he will tell information which he needs for his publicity. That is the difference. Very few people understand this difference. They don't think about it. Is it media trial? Is it not trial by leakages of information by the authorities? How can anybody know what a CBI interrogating officer has asked and what a person in interrogation disclosed. How does anybody know? Tell me. Unless CBI officer or accused discloses. Accused, no chance of disclosing. He will be killed if he does it. So understand this. Now, then I will pose a very legal question. I know I have already consumed a lot of time. I will pose a legal question and try to answer it and then conclude, and I will open it for your questions. Now, whether an ordinary citizen has any role in criminal investigation, whether an ordinary person can investigate, number one. Can an ordinary person complain, number two. Can an ordinary person collect evidences and give you, number three. Can an ordinary person arrest a person and produce before you, number four? Answer is yes, yes, yes and yes. I can give you the provisions of Indian Criminal Procedure Code. Section 90, Section 91 of CRPC. Section 40 within brackets 1, arrest by private person. Information to be given by ordinary persons. Any person is the expression used in CRPC several places. Any person, any person, any person, any person. What do you mean by any person? Who is this any person? A kaun hai? Law of torts you must have studied in your classroom. Do you know there is one person who often comes and talks to you in law of torts? Who is that person? A common man, a reasonable man. Who is that reasonable man? You must be a reasonable man. You look to a reasonable man. A reasonable man, any person, has a great role in investigation, giving information, bringing evidences to court of law, arresting a person and producing. Cinema hero, आप romantic cinemas देख रहे हैं ना? So many movies, Bollywood, Tollywood movies. What will happen? Hero will investigate, not the police. Now my question is, can hero investigate? My answer is yes. Not because he is hero, because he is any person. So any person, every person can investigate. Any person, every person can bring evidences to court of law. Any person can arrest and bring the person before the court of law. You tell me, where is your justification? Where is the justification for your theory of getting influenced by the others? This is my question. Then next point, one more point. Very vital point, you have to remember it forever. Information is different from evidence. Information is different from evidence. Please write and underline information. Underline thrice. 1, 2, 3. Why? Because when you get everything in your courtroom, it is not evidence, it is information. First information is information. Charge sheet is also information. But a better information than first information report. You don't agree with charge sheet. You frame charges, am I right? You frame the charges. Next step in investigation, you frame the charges. Why do you frame the charges? Police have already done it. Why are you doing it? Because you don't believe it. You are not supposed to believe it. You have to believe based on your own examination. And then frame the charges. Framing of charges is over. And then what happens? Evidence flows in. Go on listening to them. Cross-examination. Think about it. Then appreciate the evidence. Once you have accepted a piece of information as produced before you in a proper channel and properly cross-examined, it becomes evidence. Newspaper is information giver. TV channel is information giver. Your maid servant is information giver. Your prosecutor is also information giver. There are two information givers before you. One says he is innocent, the other says he is criminal. Are you getting influenced by one of these arguments? We are all human beings like any other human being. I am also getting influenced by the information. This is not an argument from a trained, professional, wise, knowledgeable judge. No, you cannot say that. You are educated. 5 years in law school. Great study. So many internships. So many assignments. so many moot court competitions. You go to bar examination, pass bar examination, then you write a very intensively competitive examination for judicial service, intensely competitive. Come out of it. Go to academy like Delhi Judicial Academy. Listen to people. Then sit in the court of law. Are you the same person who is listening to news items every day in the morning in a village? Can you equate yourself with them? Absolutely you cannot. You are a trained person. You know that you should not believe whatever that comes to you. You will verify. Do you know Socratic questions? First, somebody says, I'm Socrates, I'm going to give you some information. Then he asks, do you know it personally? No, sir, somebody told. Second, do you think it is truthful? No, sir, I doubt whether it is truthful or not. Third question is, do you think it is useful for me? Then he thinks for a while and this may not be said. Then why do you tell me, yaar? क्यों बताते हैं? चलो भगाओ यहाँ से, भागो यहाँ से. I will not listen to you. That should be the attitude of a truth investigating, statutorily authenticated, authorized person to investigate in the truth. You are statutorily authorized to investigate the truthfulness of information, not to be influenced by it. Not to be influenced by it. Read novel and enjoy it. Watch a movie and forget about it. Don't put it on your back of your mind. Don't. Come to courtroom, listen to the reasonable argument and understand. You know, in research, there is a component of bias. Do you know that? Component of bias. So you have to tell in research methodology, there is a 10% possibility of bias. So I reduce the 10% the reliability of the data and conclusion I am going to give. So 90% is my unbiased report. So you must be so frank enough and reduce the rebate. You know, the festive occasions, merchants will give you rebate, 20% rebate. So similarly, give 20% rebate to prosecution, 20% rebate to defense. And you inquire, don't get influenced, and take a decision. Thank you very much for your kind attention. I think I have concluded. I have a lot to tell, but I don't have time and you don't have time. If you have any questions, please.
The house is open for discussion. Any question? Any thought?